Okay, Be'ezat Hashem, Na'aseh v'natzliach. I want to welcome you to the Beacon Tower Lunch and Learn as we continue our weekly learning of Parashat Shavua. Before we get started, I'd like to give an honorable mention to our gracious hosts, H&M Builders, allowing us the use of their headquarters as well as sponsoring this class. Hashem v'ech otchem, sameach otchem, Be'ezat Hashem, that you have continued success, health, wealth, and happiness, and also want to give a special blessing to our good friend, another good sponsor. We have Judah Mendel from Mendel Alone. It takes a lot of time and effort to bring the smoked salami and wine and to bring the people together. And Be'ezat Hashem, we hear Besorot Tovot, and we have we'll be dancing underneath your chuppah Od Hashana. Also want to give an honorable mention to our caterers, Hummus Factory, who take the time to give us this fresh fruit every single week. Also give them a tremendous amount of success with their business for supporting Torah. And Be'ezat Hashem, that this lesson will also be to the Refuah Shelema of David ben Zohara, Yaniv ben Rina, Sarah Batalia. Guys, if you want to jump in. Shana Badena and Lahavdi Leilu Nishmat. You can just say the names. Leilu Nishmat Moshe ben Moshe Halevi ben Shoshana. Okay. Chana Bat Shani. Talia Chaya. But Natalie Keren. Okay. Chazak u'Baruch. Let's get started. This week's parasha is Parashat Pinchas. Parashat Pinchas actually is the ending of the story of Parashat Balak. In Parashat Balak, we have last week's story of we have these two wicked couple of Balak and Bilam that want to get together and destroy the Jewish people. Unbeknownst to the Jewish people were in their tents, everything was normal. They didn't know that these two were planning. However, after 3 failed attempts at the Jewish nation, Balak and Bilam go their separate ways, and they decide that they cannot harm the Jewish people. However, Bilam says, I'd like to give you a piece of advice. The God of the Jewish people hates promiscuity. He doesn't like it. He gave him some very good advice. What kind of advice? The type of advice that caused the Jewish people to sin, and a plague to come, and many, many people died in it. 24,000 people died. And the way that it worked, but later we'll go back to last week's parasha just to read a couple of pesukim. Vayeshev Yisrael b'Shittim, vayachel ha'im liznot el benot Moav. It says, what's Vayeshev Yisrael b'Shittim? Shittim in Shtuyot. They stayed in an area where there was Shtuyot started to get into their minds. Vayachel ha'im liznot. The nation started to act improperly with the benot Moav. Now, the continuation of the story goes with the story of Kozbi Batsur and Zibri ben Salu. Zibri ben Salu, just to let you know, is the Nasi Shevet Shimon. Nasi Shevet Shimon. Can anybody guess how old he was? How old was this prince of the tribe of Shimon? He was 250 years old. And Kozbi Batsur, you know who she was? She was the daughter of a king. They wanted so bad to beat the Jewish people that the king sent his own daughter out into the thing and said, go find their prince. And as they bump into each other, he tells her, you know what, which prince are you looking for? She said, you have a leader, Moshe Rabbeinu, he's the prince. I want to get him. He goes, so what are you talking about? I'm also a prince. I'm the prince of my tribe. I'm actually older than all of them. I'm 250 years old. I'm the most mechubad over here. And we see that over here the story starts to, the whole...
Does it say how old she was?
No.
No.
And the whole story begins to deteriorate because the way that it worked, the Midrash brings it, that how did they trick them? How did they get the Jewish people to fall, they took old women with trinkets, with jewelry, and they would go out they went into the desert, and they started to tell, like a necklace that would be worth $100. They would go to the, oh look, I have a beautiful chain for $1. $1. Oh, the guys would like it. Oh, so what a good deal. And tell them, you know what? I have a tent over there, not too far away. I have a full showcase with all my jewelry, better stuff, and very good deal. I say, oh, really? If this is $1, I could imagine. Maybe I get something for my wife. Maybe get something for my daughter. Maybe I get something, like as a gift. They walk into the tent. As soon as they walk into the tent, what they see? A beautiful 18-year-old behind the showcase. And all of a sudden she shows all the jewelry. Says, yeah. She says, oh, look, it looks like you've been walking for so long. Why don't you drink something? So he says, yeah, sure. I'm hot. They let him drink wine. The wine of yesteryear is not like the wine of today. Speaking of the wine, since it's here, let's do it. Let's do it. L'chaim. Amen. L'chaim. And once they start to drink, his head starts to spin. She tells him, why don't you eat something? He goes, I haven't eaten food in a long time. 40 years I'm in the desert. I'm eating just the man. So she feed him. And now with the food and with the wine and the head spinning, the desire starts to cook up. And she tells him, not a problem. If you want to be with me, you can be with me. But first, you got to go in front of that statue and defecate. That's the Avodah Zarah. Baal Peor is that they would go and they would make in front of this statue. And this is what happened. That's what happened. Seeing this comes one person that can't tolerate this. Who? The main character of this week's Parashat, Pinchas. And it says Pinchas in this Parashat, Ben Elazar, Ben Aaron HaKohen, Heshiv et chamati ma'al b'nei Yisrael bekanot kinati betocham. What did he do? If you go to the last two Pesukim, he went and he took a spear and he put it on his side and he made it look like a walking stick. And he saw that we had over here Zimri and Kozbi, and they're challenging Moshe Rabbeinu. So he's coming in and he sees Moshe Rabbeinu forgot a certain halakha, because he tells him, Zimri tells Moshe Rabbeinu, can I be with this Midianite? Can I be with her? Moshe Rabbeinu tells her, no, of course, you can't, she's a Goya. He goes, then who let you be with your Midianite? Sipores from Midian also. What's okay for you is not okay for me? All of a sudden he forgot the halakha. Pinchas is noticing this. He has the halakha, the answer for him right away. Instead of answering, he sees that there's a commotion over here. Plus he sees all this znut. He can't tolerate it. What does he do? Because, with all due respect, I don't want to say too much, but they started to do it in public. Mm-hmm. So he comes, he takes the romach, goes into the tent, and he spears them right through his private parts and her private parts, and not a drop of blood came out. And he was able to pick them up like this in the air, take them outside of the camp, and drop them. They say that there's 10 nisim, there are 10 miracles that happened during that killing, because if he's a kohen, something, tuma, this, that, so many, we did it 2 years ago, and we did that entire story, we spoke about it. So, and by the way, right before he put that spear into all of them, and the plague that killed 24,000 people was going on, you know what Pinchas did? He went to the corner, and you know what he did? He says, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I have 24,000 people around me. I'm the only one against them. They're all from the same tribe. They're all one family. And I know that they want to kill me right now, but I want to pray for them. Pray for them, Abba, forgive them, stop the magifa. Maybe you could do something to, find some sort of zchut for them. But please, Abba, I'm about to go right now and try to do my thing over here. I'm going to try to, stop it right now. But I pray for them that they stay alive, that you do, that you find some sort of zchut for them. And as soon as he skewered Zimri and Kozbi, the plague stopped. So imagine, people are planning on killing him, and he goes to the side to pray for them. Hashem was very impressed with this. Very, very impressed. And the following, if you just turn the page, it says over here, Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, Heshiv et chamati ma'al bnei Yisrael. He says, he's the one that was able to return my wrath, meaning to calm down my wrath on the Jewish people. Chamati is like anger. Bekan'o et kinati betocham. What's kinato? He was a zealot, because he was the one that venged my vengeance with this group of people. Velo chiliti et bnei Yisrael bekinati. And I didn't destroy the Jewish people because of what they were doing. ולכן אמור הנני נותן לו בריתי שלום, and over here he says that he gave him his ברית שלום, והייתה לו זרוע אחר ברית כהונת עולם תחת אשר כינה לעולם וכפי על בני עולם. So he gives him a big reward, he gives him a ברית שלום, and we know that Pinchas הוא אליהו. We know that Pinchas is actually Eliyahu Hanavi. And that Pinchas, throughout history, we see that we don't have, we see that he lived forever, and Eliyahu Hanavi is still around. So how does it happen? I mean, I know we see that over here that Zibri ban Salu made it to 250. We know that Serach bat Asher made it to 400. We know that Og Melech Bashan and Adam HaRishon made it to like 900 years. They made it really far. But to live forever, how's that possible?
August Metushelach, no, 959.
That's another good example, Metushelach. So how can somebody live forever? So in order to understand this, I'm going to teach you a little Gemara that I heard this Shabbat from a friend of mine, from my cousin's husband, Michael Cohen. He gave a beautiful chidush. He says there's a Gemara that speaks of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi that had a chavruta. He had a study partner. Who was it? Malach HaMavet. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi used to study every day with the devil. That was his chavruta. One time, the devil, the Malach HaMavet, didn't show up. He didn't show up to the learning. The next day he shows up, and he comes to learn. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi opens up the door. He sees him. He goes to him, listen, this is not going to work out. I don't think you're a good study partner for me. Yesterday you weren't here. The learning wasn't the same. I'm Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. I need a serious learning partner. I don't think it's going to work out anymore. He goes to him, listen, I'm sorry. Yesterday was a hard day at the office. He says, what happened? He says, I had to go take somebody's life with a certain name. But what I ended up doing is I took somebody else's life with the same name. And it became very, very complicated. And it took the whole day trying to figure it out. So he says, okay, what's the big deal? Techayam team, bring the other guy back and switch him up and everything is okay. He's like, listen, it's not that easy. It's very complicated. You can't do that. So he tells him, so what? The other guy, you took him before his years are up. That's not fair. What about all those years he was supposed to live? So he says, those years are shanim aviriyot. What's shanim aviriyot? These are years that get suspended in the air. He says, really? He says, and what do you do with those years? He says, every time somebody merits larichut shanim, where does he get the extra life from? From all these years that are suspended in the air. Like, for example, there's a lot of times that people pass away early or something happens. There's lifetime that is hanging in the balance, and they're over here, and sometimes people are grabbing from this reservoir of life. So now we have over here the 24,000 people of the plague. Most of them died before their time. Even if each one had one more year to live, how many years is that? At least 24,000. So who took all those years? Pinchas. How does he get to live for such a long period of time? All these shanim aviriyot that we're talking about went to the credit of Pinchas. So Pinchas, we say Pinchas hu Eliyahu, we see that Eliyahu has a very big connection with this story of this week's parasha. Now, if you go to Perek Chav Zayin, Pasuk Tedvav, we see that in between the beginning of the parasha, where Pinchas gets the honor that Hashem has bestowed upon him, and this pasuk that I'm about to read, there was just basically a counting. You know, sometimes we have parashiyot that's just names and numbers, names and numbers, names and numbers. So we see over here, there's a parasha also, that they count the families and the people there. Why? Because after the plague, after all these different plagues that we've had in the Midbar, we want to make sure how many people are there. Maybe later, thank you. But right after the counting of all the people, we come into the next subject matter. And here we are in Pek Chavzai Pasuk Dedvav. It talks about the handing off of the leadership from Moshe Rabbeinu to Yoshua bin Nun. And this is how it goes. It goes, Vaydaber Moshe el Hashem lemor. Yifkod Adonai Elohei Aruchot lechol basar ish ala eda. It says Moshe now is talking to Hashem, and he tells them, we need to find a candidate. He says, Yifkod Hashem Elohei Aruchot. First of all, he calls him Hashem, and you know, typically when Moshe speaks to Hashem, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe, Vaydaber Moshe el Hashem. All of a sudden here we added a couple of words. You have to understand that this distinction is, the entire learning is based on this. It says, Vayifkod Hashem Elohei Aruchot. Elohei, the king or the master of the ruchot. What's the ruach? Of the spirits. In other words, of the neshamot. Lechol basar, Elohei Aruchot lechol basar, ish ala eda. He says ish. We know, we already learned many times. What does the word ish mean when you see it in the Torah? It's the high level. It's not Adam, it's not Enosh. Ish is the high level. So now it says, we need somebody. Hashem, you are the master of all the spirits of all men. We are looking for an Ish that will take over to guide to lead the Am Yisrael. And he says what? Asher yitzeh lifnehem v'asher yavo lifnehem. That will go out in front of them and will come in front of them. V'asher yotzi v'asher yavihem. That he will take him out from the desert and will bring him into Eretz Yisrael. Ve'lo tiyeh adat Hashem katzon asher en lahem roeh. And don't let the multitude of Am Yisrael be like a flock of sheep without a shepherd. So in other words, Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, we need a new shepherd. We need a new leader. Vayomer Hashem Moshe, Hashem says, Kach lechat Yoshua bin Nun. Take for you Yoshua bin Nun, and here's the distinction. Ish asher ruach bo. Here is the man that has a ruach, a neshama inside of him that is special and unique. V'samachta et yadecha alav. And you should, do a smicha on him. The smicha is when you put your hand on a person's hand and you pass on to him the bracha, the kedusha. Now, this bestowing of a new leader in Parashat Pinchas makes me ask one question. Why wasn't Pinchas considered to be a leader? I mean, God just fell in love with him in the beginning of the parasha. He stood up for me. When nobody wanted to stand up for the honor of God, for the honor of the Torah, Pinchas stood up and he took care of business. He looks like he's good material for a leader. Why wasn't Pinchas considered for the leadership? Why halfway towards the parasha we're talking about Yoshua? So, in the Pesukim, we see that Elohei Aruchot, the master, the God of all the neshamot, of all the spirits, was looking for someone who is Asher Ruach Bo. He was looking for somebody that is a Ruach inside of him. What does that mean? You see, you can deal with people on a broad stroke. Everybody's the same. Everybody's good. Everybody's bad. Everybody's happy. Everybody's sad. These broad strokes. Typically, that type of approach fails. Because not every human being interacts in the same way with another human being. Very, very rarely can you just do a blanket policy that covers everyone. A true leader needs to understand each individual. A true leader needs to understand the neshama, the ruach, the nefesh that's inside of a human being in order to know how to interact with him. So God was saying, Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, we need a new leader. And he beseeches Hashem, Elohei Aruchot, I'm giving you a hint. You are the one who knows the inside of every person's soul. Who's the right person to deal with every person's soul? and he chooses Yoshua ben Nun. He says why? Because he doesn't want to be Ketzon asher en laim roeh. He doesn't want Am Yisrael to be without a shepherd. Now, why shepherd? Also, it could have used any other language besides shepherd. Could be a leader, could be a rosh, a head, could be a dignified person. Why use this word shepherd? If you ask me, the most honorable position on the totem pole of jobs is not a shepherd. It's actually on the bottom. It's like you're saying, like the sheep herder. He's not a merchant. He's not some sort of banker or some sort of aristocrat. A shepherd usually is like the low-level job that you can get. Anybody can be a shepherd. What's so great about being a shepherd? Not only that Moshe Rabbeinu was considered a shepherd and was looking for the next one. So, as a matter of fact, you should know that Moshe Rabbeinu's job interview with God had something to do with him being a shepherd and a goat. One time, when Moshe Rabbeinu was in the desert, a small little kid is a baby goat, walked away from the flock. And Moshe Rabbeinu noticed him far away in the distance, and he's having over here thousands and thousands of sheep, and he starts to run after this little goat. And he runs 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 and he's exerting himself, 100-degree weather, who knows in the desert, 105, 110. And he comes all the way, finally he catches up to this little goat. And where does the goat stop? Next to a small little stream of water, a little body of water. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells him, had I known you wanted water, I would have taken you to it. I am sorry that I caused you this torment or this pain or discomfort. And the Midrash brings that Moshe Rabbeinu let the goat drink, or this little kid drink, and then he picked him up, and the whole way back, he put it on his shoulders, and he carried the little kid back on his shoulders all the way back to the flock. It says. So why is he asking Moshe Rabbeinu for Yoshua to be a shepherd? Because right now, Am Yisrael is going to where? Into Israel. The Jewish people are literally going into the land of Israel. What happens? The entire time they're in the desert as a group. They're grouped together. The way that they're traveling is in a certain way. They're all in the same encampment. The minute they go into Eretz Yisrael, what happens? They're going to start spreading up. He says he's going to start going to different places. He goes, I need you to be a roeh. I need you to make sure that they don't go astray. That they all go to their places, but now, there's so many distractions. Over here there's the beach, over here there's the market, over here there's maybe a neighboring a nation. So as their minds start to stray to different places, I need you to be the roeh of Eretz Yisrael that brings them in and keeps them centered with Torah, mitzvot, and maasim tovim. That's the type of roeh that he was looking for. However, this whole passing on of the power of the leadership from Moshe to Yoshua brings another question. Typically, if leaders, especially during that time, or kings of that time, how does it work? The king is a king till he can't be a king no more, till he dies, and who takes over? His son, his children. So why didn't Moshe's children take over here? That's another question. We said Pinchas, why not Moshe's children? So you know what they said? Moshe's children weren't really good at learning Torah. Why?
He wasn't around.
He wasn't around.
Wow.
He wasn't around.
Separated
He was the Rav of Am Yisrael. He wasn't always home.
Separated from his wife.
You have to understand that sometimes when you're a public figure, it's not so easy. You want to go and you want to do something for the good of the Jewish people, and you want to do it for the sake of the Torah and for the sake of God. There's no holier work than that. But who takes the blunt of that choice? Who suffers from it? Typically, the man's home. I can tell you myself from personal experience. Sometimes I get so excited. I have another class. I can learn. I can teach another class. I can learn another class. I can be with my friends and learn Torah. I get so excited because I enjoy it. The Torah is sweet. But then I realized that after going to every single Torah class that I could go to, that sometimes my wife wasn't so thinking I was such a tzaddik. She was thinking that, you know what, you could, you're missing a couple of pointers on how to be in a marriage. Maybe you're doing great outside and everybody thinks you're amazing giving classes, but you know what, at home, C minus.
But you're buying her Olam Haba?
Yeah, but you know what? She doesn't want Olam Haba. She wants sushi at night with her husband to have that moment. But you know, it takes a balance. It takes the balance. It takes a balance, but you can understand that, you know, just to strengthen the point of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he's out there and his own children could have used him at home a little bit more. Kav zchut that we're saying like that, but you know what? When we bring up that question, we see that who merited to that? Well, it's Yoshua bin Nun. Nar lo yamush mitoch ha'oel. It's a famous pasuk. If you ever want to learn a famous pasuk about Yoshua bin Nun, Nar, since he was he was not a young man when he was with Moshe Rabbeinu, he was in his 40s. But Nar lo yamush mitoch ha'oel. The way he acted is like a young man that never moved away from the ohel. You know what it is? The synagogue, the shul, the bet midrash, the kollel. When everybody left, he'd fix the books, he'd fix the chairs, he'd sweep. When Moshe Rabbeinu was at the mountain, he'd wait like this for 40 days. When he went somewhere, he'd follow him. Rabbi, what do you need? He serviced the rabbi. He merited to that because of his zchuyot, of his actions. Right. Not because of his, because of his DNA, because he was from some sort of lineage. He was from Shevet Ephraim. And he didn't get it because he did some sort of really huge act of stopping a plague. He did it just because he was the top student of the top rabbi of Am Yisrael. However, you'd be surprised how many similarities there are between Yoshua bin Nun and Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, these two individuals lived parallel lives. I can tell you that if, just to make a, milta de bdichuta, just to make us laugh for a second, if these two guys were at the bar talking and they were sharing stories, you'd hear all the time, "No way, me too!" And he'd tell, "No way, me too!" That's how it would be. If Moshe Rabbeinu and Yoshua bin Nun met in a bar and started to exchange stories, that each story that they have would be identical. Listen to this. Let's start from the beginning. This is a very interesting midrash. We all know the famous story of Moshe Rabbeinu, of how he was born prematurely. To protect him, they put him in a teva, in a basket, in a bassinet, and they put him onto the yeor. And then he was saved, right? And he was taken to the house of Paro, and he was raised in the castle of the Melech Mitzrayim. We know that that's the way the story started with Moshe Rabbeinu. So
he was in training.
He was in training to be a king. So we will start the similarities from that age. Look how similar Yoshua bin Nun and Moshe Rabbeinu are. I'm going to take you through this midrash, and then we'll go all the way up until the entry to Eretz Yisrael. If you want to see this entire midrash, this midrash in its entirety, open up Me'am Loez. I believe it's in Sefer Vayikra. Over there, you can find this whole midrash about Yoshua bin Nun. First of all, Yoshua bin Nun. Why is it called Bin Nun? Why is he called the son of Nun? Many reasons. They say his father's name was Nun. Why? Because on his back he had like a big scar that looked like a Nun. However, they say that the reason they call him Yoshua bin Nun, because anybody who studies Gemara and learns the Aramaic language, that word nun in Aramaic, which you see in a lot of places in the Gemara, or if you read Unculus, or anytime you read Aramaic, the word nun means fish. Yoshua is the son of a fish. What does that mean? So, the story goes like this. The Midrash goes like this. Yoshua bin Nun's father and mother had a very hard time conceiving children. One day his father has a dream. He has a dream that he's going to have a child. but that child is going to kill him. He wakes up from the dream and he shares this dream with his wife. And he tells us, I had a dream. What is it? So we're going to have a child. I had a dream that we're having a child. Oh, I'm so happy we're going to have a child. But she says, but he's going to kill. He's going to kill me. She says, wow, what is this tragedy that you're announcing right now? How can we do that? He told her that's the dream. So she says, so what are we going to do? So he tells her, well, I don't know what we're going to do. They were all confused. Milhon lehon, they end up getting pregnant. The baby is in the belly. And the whole time while she's pregnant, they're sad. They just don't know. What are they going to do? You know, in those days when they have a dream, it's a dream. You know, it's a message that was sent from up above. So finally she gives birth, and they decide in order for this dream not to manifest, they took the baby, they put the baby in a bassinet, and they put it into the river, just like Moshe Rabbeinu, and they let it go. And they said, listen, let whoever's going to take care of him is going to take care of him. He's not going to grow up with us. We're not going to have any connection to him.
Was he a firstborn?
Was he a firstborn?
Sure.
The Midrash doesn't bring it.
Doesn't.
No, well, they couldn't have children. Could be, yeah. Could be. While they put this bassinet of Yoshua on the river, comes a big fish and swallows him. This exact fish was fished out of that water that day, and it was so big, they say that this is a fish worthy of being on the table of a king. And that's what they did. They cooked it. They cooked the fish for the king. And when they come, they put it on the plate, they come to open it up, they
There's a baby.
come to open it, they see that inside of it there's a bassinet and a baby. They take out the baby, and and Paro at that time, because keep in mind, Moshe was gone at this time. Moshe ran away at 17. The story of Yehoshua is while Moshe is not there anymore. He takes out this kid, he sees him, says, you know what, I'll keep him. He keeps him, and he's raised in the castle just like Moshe Rabbeinu.
Wow.
And what happens? He gets a job. He gives him the job of the butcher. The butcher also has another job. The butcher is also the one that decapitates anybody who goes against the king. And the rules of that time, whoever gets to the point where he gets to get hung or decapitated, the butcher takes over his family. Wouldn't you know it? Something happened with Yoshua ben Nun's biological father, and he gets brought into the guillotine.
No.
And who decapitates him? Yoshua ben Nun, just like the dream. And who comes, and what does he have to do? He takes over the family. So now he has his mother in the house with him. The Midrash brings that Yoshua ben Nun tries to go on top of his mom. And in that moment, her breasts begin to lactate, and it starts to fill up the room with milk and milk and milk and milk.
No.
And he said, what's going on over here? She says, wait. Something is going on here. I know that the reason this is happening right now is because you are my son. She figured it out. She was able to backtrack everything and goes, so what do you mean? She tells him the whole story. She tells him the whole story of how he's actually Jewish, of his father, and this would happen, and that's why I'm his mother, and because I'm your mother, that Hashem is making it that you're not going to make a sin with me. From that moment, he made teshuvah. So here we started the similarity of what? The bassinet, Paro, right? And he's in Mitzrayim. The similarities continue. They might.
I'm sorry, Ma'am Loez?
Ma'am Loez has it over there, detail for detail. Beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. You could even go to common places on you can go to Wikipedia.
No,
they talk about it, but not the details.
We like details.
Yeah, Ma'am Loez has it. I love Ma'am Loez. Rav Yaakov Kuli. Okay. I'm going to give you some other similarities between their lives that you can see. Parallel lives. They might be a little bit random, one before the other, but here we go. Moshe Rabbeinu did what? Kriyat Yam Suf. What did Yoshua do? Chatziyat HaYarden. He also split a body of water. Yarden, when they go into Israel, the water of the Jordan started to back up. You know, it was like a fall, waterfall. What's the pasuk? We have it in Hallel. I don't have my siddur with me, but the water is backed up, and the water split. The same way that Moshe Rabbeinu split the waters. Hayarden yeshuv la'achor. Chazak u'baruch. Hayarden yeshuv la'achor. The water started to back up. They stood up like a wall. Why? Yoshua was crossing the Jewish people through it. What happened during Yetziat Mitzrayim? The same thing with Moshe Rabbeinu.
Is this where Machshimon got his idea? That they split the whole thing?
I don't know.
Interesting, because that's what it sounds like. Yeshua, Yeshu,
I don't know. I did a class on him. I didn't see that one.
Wow.
We have the Milchamot. He had some very, very big battles. Some of the biggest battles that Moshe Rabbeinu fought was against the two giants, Sihon and Og. One of the biggest battles that Yeshua had was Yericho and Ha'ai. Two very similar circumstances. If you go over there, actually, the Pesukim use identical wording. If you put one pasuk next to the next pasuk, you see identical wording. We also have, you know what, here, I have an example. In Og it says, Al tira oto, ki yevadecha natati oto, ואת כל עמו, ואת ארצו, ועשית לו כאשר עשית לשיחו מלך האומרי, אשר יושב בחשבון. That's when Hashem was giving Moshe confidence over Og. So over there it says, Al tira oto. In Yoshua, when he was going against the eye, ואומר השם אל יהושע, it says, אל תירא ואל תחת. אל תירא אותו, אל תירא ואל תחת. It says, כי בידך נתתי, ראה נתתי בידך. Almost identical anymore. I mean, there's a comparison of maybe 30. I'm giving you the summary of the summary. Furthermore, we have Yoshua had the gilui of a malach. A malach came to him. Moshe had the gilui of the snem. This is also a type of malach. Moshe Rabbeinu sent meraglim into Eretz Yisrael. Yoshua also sends meraglim into Eretz Yisrael right before he goes in. Moshe Rabbeinu makes a brit between God and Bnei Israel. Yoshua also makes a brit with God and Bnei Israel. We have the one B'Shechem, and over here we have in Yarden, B'Zmot Moav. Yoshua, when he died, was called Eved Hashem, and Moshe Rabbeinu is known as what? Eved Hashem. We see that the title that you get, Eved Hashem, Yoshua got it at the end of his life as well. We have just a couple more. We said that Moshe Rabbeinu was the beginning of the man. Yoshua was the ending of the man. Moshe, when he got to a place, a holy place, he had to take off his shoes. When Yoshua met that holy angel, what did he do? He also took off his shoes. Almost like I told you, if they were sitting, me too, me too, me too, me too. Oh, everything's like the same, identical. Moshe had the mate, Yoshua had the mate. They were talking about Gerizim and Eval, that Moshe was giving the commandment. Yoshua is the one that walked him into Gerizim and Eval. There was a promise that Kalev ben Yefuneh is going to get the land. Yoshua gives the land to Kalev ben Yefuneh. So they had a bunch of similarities, and they go more and more. Bnot Tzlofchad with Moshe, Bnot Tzlofchad with Yoshua. Moshe gives a goodbye speech. Yoshua gives a goodbye speech. When Moshe went to bury his brother Aharon, we also have over here when Moshe was burying Elazar Kohen. Many, many, many similarities. I don't want to go too much into it, but just to show you that there were a lot of similarities. However, the rabbis tell us there was also a few differences. There are a few differences. For example, when the time came to fight, when Moshe Rabbeinu found out that he's not going to be the one that's going to lead the Jewish people into the land of Israel, and what he had to do is he had to do one more war and he's gone. You know what Moshe did? He woke up early the next morning to get it done. Why? Because that was Moshe. Yoshua, you know what Yoshua did? Yoshua had a similar situation. God let him know that after this war, after the splitting of the land, you have to go. You know what Yoshua did? He delayed. He took more time. Why? He wanted to be alive a little bit longer. So we see Moshe Rabbeinu, when he told them that you're going to die right after this, he woke up, no problem, Hashem, whatever you want. Yoshua delayed a little bit. In other words, they say that Moshe Rabbeinu was the sun and Yoshua was the moon. They were big, it's both big planets, big stars, but they had some differences. One shepherd was different from the other shepherd. Speaking of shepherds, you know, to be a leader, you need to have a mentor. In order to be a leader, you have to be somebody that you draw from. So you need to have a derech. You need to have a hashkafa. In other words, you need what the Jews have. You need the Torah, which is the derech and the hashkafa, and you need a mentor. Who is he? Moshe Rabbeinu. He is like the ultimate life coach to every single Jew. But as a matter of fact, Moshe Rabbeinu is not just the ultimate life coach, not only the roeh. You know, around the time of Sukkot, we always said that we have 7 shepherds. Who are the 7 shepherds? We have Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David. Moshe, Aharon, Yosef, David, and some say even Shlomo. We have 7 shepherds. Why can't we just have one? We do have one. The God is our shepherd. The Torah is the manual to our life over here. But Hashem also gave us a lot of life coaches. From Avraham, learn how to do achnasat orchim. From Yitzchak, no fear. Pachad Yitzchak, no fear. Yaakov, Tiferet, Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu, leader. Aharon, Shalom. David HaMelech, what's David HaMelech? David HaMelech is showing us that anything is possible. If you know his life story, it's incredible. In other words, he's giving us a lot of different shepherds in our lives that we can draw from, a lot of different life coaches that we can draw from, so we can find out what's the right way to be. Why? Because, like we said earlier, that a shepherd is a person that is able to Elohei Ruchot, Asher Ruach Bo. Each person, each neshama is different. You see, sometimes you have somebody, you ask somebody, who's your favorite biblical character? And they'll tell you straight out, Yosef. I love Yosef. Why? He teaches me how to save. Oh, he was so smart. Yosef, you know, like he was so humble. Oh, he protected his breed. They connect to that life coach. You ask another guy, who's your favorite biblical character? Avraham Avinu. You come to his house on Shabbat, it's a mountain of food. He doesn't know. It's like Avraham is his mentor. Each one is sensitive to a certain path, a road into the Torah. So we see over here that Yoshua is the new shepherd. Yoshua is the new shepherd that takes the Jewish people, Am Yisrael, into Eretz Yisrael. What is the lesson of this week's parasha? This week's parasha's lesson to our life today, right here, 5,779, 2019, here in Aventura, Florida, is that everybody needs a leader. Everybody needs a leader. Am Yisrael needs a leader. A business needs a leader. A family needs a leader. You need a leader. We all need someone to mentor us, someone to show us the right way. But what's a leader? A leader is someone who is sensitive to the individuality of each person that he's leading. There's no broad strokes. You don't write a rule, like those coffee mugs. The boss is always right. Rule number 2, go to rule number 1. Broad stroke. That's it. That's the rule over here. The way that you do it, and this is, I speak for myself, the same way that I speak to you, and I speak to every single person that's listening over here, is that there's a proper way to be in the house. There's a proper way to be a leader with your children. There's a proper way to be a leader in the community. There's a proper way to be a leader in the office, over your team, how to work together. There's a proper way. What's the proper way? Is that you must be sensitive to people's individuality. Because if you're not going to be from the one that asher ruach bo, that you don't have the sensitivity inside of you to understand the sensitivity of another person, you are never going to be successful as a leader. Wow. You are never going to be a new shepherd. And in every generation, every person is a king of his own world. You are. You're the king of your life. And I'm the king of my life. And you're the king of your life. Everybody in their little bubble of life, you're the king. So who was the king? The king has a queen. That's the wife. How are you a leader with the queen? Then you have your people around you. That's what? That's your children. That's your family. Then you go make the parnasah. How do you interact with every single individual? The whole point here is that you have to have sensitivity. I'm going to end off with one other chidush that usually we say it when it comes up, which was about maybe 4 or 5 parashiyot ago, but it's good to understand. Yoshua, he wasn't perfect. As a matter of fact, Moshe Rabbeinu saw that he was lacking a lot. It's very hard to pull a guy from the kollel and tell him, okay, deal with the crowd. Anybody who's been in a big shul, you understand that a rabbi that takes care of a big shul, he needs to have a lot. He has to have a thick skin, and he has to have a lot of tools. He needs to have a lot of skills in order for him to lenahel, in order to manage that community properly. So, what do? You can't just pull a guy out of being of a kollel, put him in front of 500 people, figure it out. You don't have the right tools. Moshe Rabbeinu saw the exact same thing. He says, "What? I'm going to pull him out now from being from the ohel, being my servant, to take care of millions of Jews." He needs a tool. He needs something. He needs help. So, Yoshua ben Nun, when we first see him, he's introduced to us as Hoshea ben Nun, right? And the transformation of Yehoshua ben Nun came right before he went to be part of the Meraglim that went into Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I have to put a yud in your name. He says, what, I have to put a yud in your name? Listen, you need a bracha. You're going to go be with these 10 guys over here, with these 12 guys, with these 11 guys over here. Then they're going to be up to no good. You need a yud to protect you. However, a few parashiyot before that, we already know that during the mitnabim, with the Medad and Eldad, when they were in the machaneh, what was their nevuah? The nevuah is Moshe Motziv v'Yoshua Machnis, that he's the one that's going to bring the Jewish people into Eretz Yisrael. So having known that he's going to be the leader of Am Yisrael, and the fact that he's going to be one of the spies that's going to Israel, he gave him the Yud that turned him from Hoshea ben Nun to Yoshua ben Nun. But I want to tell you the story of this Yud. This Yud has a beautiful story. Sarah and Avraham used to be Sarai and Avram. That was their original name. And they had complications in bearing children. So Hashem gave him a name change. Avram became Avraham, and Sarai became Sarah. It's like he took that Yud and split it. And also from here we learned that it's good for a girl to have hay in her name. It's good for zivug and it's good for priya v'rivya. So every time, Bezat Hashem, when you have children and they're going to be girls, make sure that they have a hay in their name. This yud used to be in the Torah. Now that it got replaced by two hays, it was in the Shammai and saying, Hashem, what happened to me? I used to be in your Torah. Now I'm over here all lonely by myself. I want to go back. I want to go back and be in your Torah. Well, it was waiting in the Shammai for a very, very long time, until the time that Moshe Rabbeinu came to bless Hoshea ben Nun. He says, you're a great guy. You have the potential to be a great leader. But you're missing something. You know what you're missing? He says, you're missing a little bit of Sarah Imenu. Sarah Imenu, she was no nonsense. When she saw that Ishmael was metzachek, doing avodah zarah, what did she say? Out! Get this guy out of my house. As a matter of fact, his mother too, Hagar. Avraham Avinu was in a very tight spot. You told me to marry Hagar. Not only that, you also, it's my firstborn. I never had a child. I'm like 90-something years old over here, and it's my only child. You want me to kick her out? He's scratching his head. She says, out! HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells them, listen to Sarah. Listen to her voice. Whatever she tells you, do. And Avraham Avinu, with a lump in his throat and maybe dragging his feet. I wouldn't say that. I don't know if he was dragging his feet. But you can say that it was very sad that his only son now has to get kicked out, and Hagar gets kicked out. Why? Because Sarah said that this guy and this woman are a bad influence on my child. So she was a tough cookie. She didn't touch, zero tolerance. Not in my house. He says, you need that. You need to be a little bit tough. You're too much of a yeshiva bachur. Yeah, too much books, too much with the rabbi. Go outside, you need to be a little bit rough and tough. You're going to be dealing with Am Sheoref. So he takes the yud of Sarai and he gives it to Hoshea ben Nun, and he turns him to Yoshua ben Nun. So we see that no letter goes wasted in the Torah. But there's a bigger chidush over here. Even the nikud doesn't get wasted. Hoshea ben Nun is his name. Now we went and we said Yoshua bin Nun. How did Ben become Bin? What happened there? So Ben, under it, has a segol. Segol are the three dots. In order for you to pronounce Yehoshua, under the Yud you need to put a Shva, the two dots. So they took from the Ben, from the three dots, they took two and they put it under the Yud. What's left under the Bet? One dot. That's a chirik. And that's how it became Yehoshua bin Nun. Because he needed that as a leader. He needed that. He needed a little bit of Sarai Menu, a little bit to be a little bit of rough and tough and a little bit more stern with the people to be the leader. Be'ezat Hashem, that we merit to be good leaders, good shepherds in our families, in our businesses, in our lives, good shepherd in our minds. Be'ezat Hashem, that we get connected to good shepherds, that we have good rabbis that we can connect to, good people that can lead us. And not only that, we have to understand that at the end of the day, we have the ultimate shepherd, God. And he gave us 7 shepherds. Who do you want to connect to? Chesed, Gvura, leadership. What do you want? Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Aharon, Moshe, David, Yosef. He gave us the shepherds. And he says that we have even more shepherds. We just didn't give him that title. We have the all-around big shepherd, that's God. What is he teaching us? Here's the Torah. He wrote it down for us. Then he gave us the 7 dmuyot, the 7 entities of the 7 shepherds. But he also planted for us, each one in our community, a shepherd. The local rabbi that's in your shul. That you come to him and you say, Rabbi, I'm confused. I'm not sure. Something happened a few days ago. I need to talk to you. Or you go to a rabbi and you say, I have a little bit of a situation with the wife, a little bit of a situation with the kids, a little bit of a situation with finances, a little bit of a situation with health. We go to the local shepherd. Say it again?
A little something with the kavanah of tefillah.
Tefillah is the ultimate master key.
That's what we come to him for. Everything else
it's all the master key. But not everybody is on a high level like you. Baruch Hashem, you're there. You know the power of tefillah. most people, you know what they need? They need another human being to talk to them and open it up for them. Not everybody is open to open up a book. Not every person is ready to dive into it. Not every person can deep Torah concepts and digest it. Not everybody has, we're the ADD generation. You know what it is to open up a book and connect? But sometimes you find the right person in the community that can help you out. It's a big sweep.
But that's why you make yourself available.
Hashem, I told you.
These boys know the real secret. They know what they got in their hands.
You know what I do? I learn. You know what's Ben Nun? Nun is the ultimate chokhmah. You know the whole thing here. This is sharing Torah. This is here's the learning of the week, and now you share it. So what? It's on Shabbat. You have something beautiful on the table. So like that, Be'ezat Hashem. Also, we have some tools under our belt. Because right now, after an hour of talking about being a proper shepherd, after sitting down and talking together, you know what it is? You walk into your house, you walk in front of to your wife, in front of the children, and you say to yourself, you know what kind of a shepherd am I? How am I leading the flock? And how about that sheep that went all the way over there? Am I going to go bring it? You know how many families have goats all over the place that ran away, that are not close to the Torah? So Be'ezat Hashem, that we merit to be leaders in our lives, that we have proper leadership from our Chachamim, Tzadikim, and that Be'ezat Hashem connects us with the right derech, and Be'ezat Hashem, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.